Today marks the first day of the second week of my 2-week notice that I gave to where I currently work.
Nice.
And since it's Monday, July 3rd, which makes it sandwiched between a weekend and a national holiday, I can't think of anything I've done in the last 4.5 hours since I've been at work.
That sounds fantastic.
I know, right? Like, I don't want to be a total shitball, and I want to work through my last week because I said I would. But on the other hand, there are so few people in this office building right now, and it's just quiet. And like, I didn't even wear my collared shirt and stuff to work. I'm wearing like a dark t-shirt, and all my tattoos are showing, and a pair of shitty jeans and tennis shoes.
Well, nice.
I'm supposed to be dressed in like professional attire, but just not feeling it today.
Yeah, and I also wouldn't. I am lucky enough that since I have a fairly casual job, despite its professionalness, that every day my uniform is whatever shorts I have on, whatever t-shirt I decided to wear, and usually a sweatshirt because it gets cold in the office that we work at.
Nice. Well, ladies and gentlemen, this is a Plumbus among us, the rickest Rick and Morty Podcast. My name is Brian, and with me, as always, is Patriotic Jeff. Patriotic Jeff, how's it going, my friend?
Loving America? F yeah.
Getting ready for Brexit 1776 tomorrow, so I'm pretty excited about it. Jeff and I, along with our friends Dave, also host the Nothing Important Podcast. You can find that on iTunes or nothingimportantpodcast.com. New episodes coming soon. Please make sure to check that out. Also, if you're into Better Call Saul, check out the Better Call Saul podcast. It's Saul Goodman at www.itssaulgoodman.com, or on iTunes. You can hear us discuss every episode of Better Call Saul and also talk to the cast and crew from time to time. So it's been a lot of fun, and they just wrapped up season 3 of Better Call Saul. That means that it's now time for Rick and Morty, Jeff, and the timing on this couldn't be more perfect as far as all the various podcasts that we do go.
Absolutely. Given time to actually do something outside of Better Call Saul is awesome, since that takes up a lot of our time. So this project here is going to be even better because we have a lot to catch up on if we're going to go to past episodes, which we're planning on doing. And we have just till the end of the month before the actual Season 3 starts.
I know. So I figure what we do today is we chat for a little bit about the trailer that they finally released. They had this big event, and it's funny because I was all excited to watch this live stream event, and then life kind of took over, and we ended up having to move into our new house. So I didn't get to watch it till like later that night, but you watched it, right?
I watched it live. It was interesting just to see their process. It was funny to see the dynamic because they were really writing a live episode the whole time. Mark Harmon was sitting there typing while Justin was just kind of riffing here and there in between to fill up time and space until like a page was written. It was actually kind of hilarious. It was interesting in look into their process. It was also boring at times, but it was fun to sit there and just see how things go in the actual writers' room because they said it's very much how it goes.
Now, were they? Is this for an upcoming episode, or what were they writing an episode for?
Just that event. They weren't really writing an episode. They just thought it would be fun to try to make something up on the spot.
Gotcha.
As a way to show their process, that they talk back and forth. They come up with things. They make stupid things, edits in between. There was a time where they had an animator there who was trying to draw what they were talking about and what was being done, and they came up with a new character or a new race of aliens, and just to kind of stop her and was like, hey, hold on a second, this is what it should be, and erased his arms and made his arms penises. And said, that's really what happens in our writer's room, this kind of stuff.
Drawing penises?
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. And then, of course, they debuted the Season 3 trailer, which I've watched several times since then. It's only like a minute and a half long, and I just kind of went through it and just looked at some things that caught my eyes. So I figured in anticipation of Season 3, we'll spend a bit and we'll just kind of go over some of the things I saw, some of the things you saw. Sure. And we haven't really put out a new episode in about a month because life has kind of been crazy for all of us. But now that we were well rested and back at it, I figured what better way to get back into it than talking about the Season 3 trailer.
Absolutely.
All right, so season 3 Rick and Morty trailer. First off, the obvious thing, Pickle Rick.
Pickle Rick! Yes, from the very beginning.
Which totally matches up with everything you said. My brother and I, we were putting together a swing set at the new house, which is funny because apparently it takes like 8 hours to put together a swing set. They're so intricate and shit now, and half of the time we were talking, we were talking about Rick and Morty. Pickle Rick is probably one of the most fun things to yell that have come across pop culture in quite a while.
Yeah, and it's just a ridiculous concept also.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what is the purpose of making yourself into a cucumber that's been brined in a barrel, for however long time?
Right.
What could possibly be the advantage of having that happen?
It's funny because I actually made the comment, I'm like, I think what they do is think of what can possibly be the dumbest concept, and then we're going to try to build an episode and make that work. And from what you told me about their live special, that's pretty close to how it happens.
Yeah, actually, that's pretty much exactly what happened. I mean, it amazes me so much, too, to see that, like, witness it live on their live stream. And then also, to see things like Pickle Rick and everything, a lot of the other pieces that showed up in the trailer there, but also know that they've got this intricate, crazy Bible that goes back, to plant seeds seasons before for payoffs that aren't going to even happen yet.
Right, it's insane. I was also a sentiment that I have is that Rick and Morty is probably closer to South Park than Family Guy is to South Park, and I say that because South Park.
Agree with that.
Yeah, because South Park is one of those cartoons, like on its surface, it just seems unnecessarily vulgar, and there's like shit jokes, and it just seems unnecessarily crass, but there's such good writing that lays the foundation for all of that. It somehow comes together and makes a ton of sense. And I feel that's how, whereas Family Guy is, like gross out humor and all that bullshit, but it's obvious that it's just kind of like 30, mindless minutes. Where,
Right.
Rick and Morty is kind of the same thing. It has some like really obscure or violent or almost depressing humor at times, but it's so well written that it all just seems to work really well together.
Right, it's like they decide those pieces that they need to put in the episodes or when to introduce certain things. But at the same time, the other, 90% of the episode, is just kind of whatever they made up.
Right. I saw a funny video today, the voices of Justin Roiland. And he pretty much has like 3 voices. It's like Rick, and then Morty, and then super excited Morty. Like those are like the 3 voices that he can do.
Yeah, and you could tell during the live thing, too. He was coming up, they were making ancillary characters around, and yes, they all sounded very Rickish or Morty-ish, just depending on the description that was going on. Which, I mean, to come up off the spot, it makes sense. You don't have time to research or do whatever you're going to do. But if you know what works, why not just keep going with it?
The trailer kind of tricked me at times because they showed some portions of episode 301 that aired on April Fool's Day.
Yeah, they showed quite a lot of it, actually.
Yeah, it confused me at first. I was like, SEAL Team Ricks is back? How'd that happen? I can't wait to see how that happens. And then I rewatched it and realized it was part of that episode.
Yeah, and that also led me, that was one of my points I was going to say was, obviously this trailer was made with the entire season in mind, and it was made to premiere at a different date. So the fact that it premiered on April Fool's Day, and Dan, was responding to like some kid asking him on April Fool's Day, well, when's it going to come out? And he's like, you want to see it? Fine, we'll see it. And he put it up. Just says that they weren't totally ready necessarily. They wanted to release this trailer first, but before they showed that episode, because I'd say a good, honest quarter to third of it is 301 stuff.
Mm-hmm. Well, Adult Swim is kind of notorious for that. Remember Aqua Teen Hunger Force had a movie, and they kept pushing the fact that they were going to play the movie on Adult Swim before it came out in theaters. And then when it came the day that they were going to play the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie, your options were or it was on a super small, like stamp-sized screen in the corner, of the screen, and you could hear the audio of it, but it was the English audio to it was desynced, or you could listen to the Spanish audio that was like inaccurate and chopped up. So like while they had all the parts moving, you, I guess theoretically, could see the Aqua Teen Hunger Force movie. And so I feel that's kind of what probably happened with the people over at Adult Swim. They thought of this genius idea to play the first episode, so it was done, but they had already had their marketing plan well in place prior to that.
Yeah, I would agree with that. The people at Adult Swim are both clever and dumb when it comes to promoting their own stuff.
Right. 30 seconds into the trailer, it kind of cracked me up. Rick and Morty are tied up, and they're actually tied up on a giant piano harp.
Right.
And the hammers have obviously come down on other victims and bashed their heads in. And if you look up at the top of the screen, there's like some sort of demon, like painted like a clown, like almost like an opera clown. And I was kind of chuckling.
He looked very Liberace.
Yeah. I was kind of cracking up. I was like, wouldn't that be great if they somehow tied in an Adam West memoriam into that? Because that totally seems like a Joker's plot from the 1960s Batman TV show.
Well, Liberace was a villain on the 1960s Batman TV show, and he was like a villainous piano player. Yeah, that's totally true. And I doubt that was. I mean, that might have been in there just because of their love for pop culture, and Adam West and the old Batman show. But I doubt it's in there as a tribute, seeing as how long it took to animate these things. I mean, they kind of just. I think the timing is better than it is anything else.
I'd like to see him like this, or like add some sort of like audio like wink and nudge. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, that would be fun. But we'll see when that episode comes out.
Because Adam West is pretty had a very hilarious and unique place in pop culture history. Like he totally lamented that he was the Batman, but then he just kind of came to embrace the fact that he was some silly ass corny version of the Batman. And he even like had like painting exhibits of pictures he painted of himself as the Batman, and like opened galleries with him and stuff. So
but I don't think that he actually Adam West did not hate the fact that he was Batman. According to like interviews and stuff I read, especially that came out, and were popular around the time that he passed away. He actually loved the fact that he was Batman. The fact, or the thing that he hated, was that he was so typecast because of that and the campiness that he couldn't get any work. Like he was just so put into a box that Hollywood basically backed up on him and said "F.O." Which sucks for him, but I mean that's really the only thing that kept his fame going, was the fact that he was Batman, and so many people loved it, and so many people stuck with it, or it was part of their childhood. That that was the 60s, so 70s, 80s. You got 20-some-year-olds now who are writing articles and doing this. The 90s come along, so now the internet age, and people are being very nostalgic about their childhood. And then, we've got 2010s where all those people are prominent CEO type people, or just well ingrained in their art or wherever they're at, that they can throw that out. And Adam West was totally down for all that kind of stuff. He just liked to do stuff, and you could tell he liked to make fun of himself, obviously by his Family Guy portrayal of his own self, which was just stupid. It was just just a ridiculous person, but he could take a joke, and he knew that he was also, as much as serious as he was also kind of a joke, but taking that seriously, to be able to self-inflect like that, or self-reflect like that, I just think speaks to his character as an actor.
Yeah, absolutely. So if they do end up doing some sort of slight like homage, I guess, to him, or some sort of slight reference to him in that situation, I just want to put on record, we called it first.
Absolutely. I haven't heard it from anyone else, and we should have done this a week ago.
Yeah. Exactly. It was nice to see Summer, the Summer that we follow, team up with Cronenberg Summer.
Yeah, one of my point number 2 I was going to bring up, besides so much 301 being in there, was just so much Summer is in the trailer. Like, she's actually become part of the Rick and Morty team, to where it's almost Rick and Morty and Summer going on, which is good, especially seeing as how she's evolved over the past 2 seasons. From just a stereotypical teenager that was just there for dumb jokes, into like an honest to goodness hard ass on the level of at least Rick, not Morty, but to become an actual part of the team and be there. Yeah, well, there's even a scene later on in the trailer where some sort of mutant asks her to put him out of his misery, and she obliges, but still being a teenager, she's still defiant, so the only reason she kills him, or she will kill him, but not because he told her to. Right, because she wants to. She's becoming a murderous, dark version of herself, which is referenced immediately after that. You know what else it made me think of when you said it's kind of becoming Rick, Morty, and Summer? For some reason, it popped into my head. Remember, there was Pinky and the Brain got a spinoff of Animaniacs. Yeah, and then it moved from After School to Saturday Morning, and it became yet another spinoff, and it was Pinky, the Brain, and Elmira. Right, Elmira, Pinky, and the Brain. Yeah, right. Yeah. So I hope it doesn't go down that route. Well, I don't think you can, even if you add a third character to the main characters. You know, the main dynamic is still, I believe, at least right now, until we see what happens in season 3, the way that Rick and Morty interact, and they're yin and yang in lots of stuff. Yeah. And there's a lot of gray, especially in the Morty part, where he starts to become more dark and realizes things and tries to teach Summer. How he's gone from light to dark, if you want to call it that, in a yin-yang reference. But maybe Summer is there just to switch over, and maybe they have to eventually pick up another Summer from another dimension because Summer gets too dark and gets murdered. Calling it right now, throwing it out there. I noticed no Jerry in the entire trailer. No, you missed when they're riding on the roller coaster. Oh, whatever that indoor domed roller coaster is. How did Jerry's I miss sitting that? Right next to Rick, and there was one other spot too. Like they're in some sort of forest reminiscent of the Megaseed forest. And there's some weird animal or weird alien that opens up its mouth in 4 different ways, similar to like a double Blade 2 vampire. Yeah, and Jerry's like on his back, like backing up from. So he's in there a little bit, so he's not totally cut out, even though they're getting divorced, which we found out at 301. He's not totally out of the spectrum for characters. Gotcha. Okay. I don't know how I've missed that, and I've watched this several times, but but yeah. Well, that's because I was wondering about that, because when I thought that there was no Jerry for whatever reason, I was like, how are they going to have that in play? Because he was already in 301, but it'd be terrible if they took Jerry completely out of the equation. Well, right. Just his character, too, is just so stupid. And you can just blame a lot on him. And, I could see his arc personally being trying to get back into the family after everyone has cut him out, whether the kids wanted it or not. But definitely Beth has totally cut him out, seeing as she brought up the divorce and helped him pack at the end of 301. To get out of there. So I bet his arc this season has more to do with him being lonely, living in his bachelor pad, like efficiency apartment, whatever he could get for being unemployed. Right. And then trying to get back into good graces with Beth and the rest of the family. It appears that at some point Rick and Morty are going to team up with some sort of, I'm not saying like superhero group, but some group called the Vindicators. Based on that weird crystal thing. Yes. Right, they're sounding the alarm. And he refuses to answer a literal call to adventure. Right, well, that's beneath him. He is adventure. He is, right. Rick is, the smartest person in the universe, as it's been stated many a time. So why the hell does he need to be part of things? Well, here, I'm going to redeem myself for whatever reason having the brain fart on No Jerry. Are you ready? Okay, go. So as I saw, the Vindicator lamp was ringing, and then we talked earlier about the old Batman-esque villain on the piano where they're tied up.
What if that is like one whole like episode, and it is loosely based on like the stupid plot of the Batman TV series, where because you have the phone, right, and you have the two heroes, and then you have the unnecessarily complicated death device.
Yes. Okay. Well, that all makes perfect sense.
That would be awesome if that was all one episode.
I bet you that you are pretty damn correct on that. At least the Vindicators probably might be set up like an episode before. But I would absolutely agree with you that there's going to be some stupid campy some stupid campy version of 60s Batman that shows up because of them.
The Gene, we get to see a neighbor. I don't think we've really seen a neighbor before, have we?
No, not that I recall off the top of my head here.
I mean,
it appears to stay the hell out of whatever else is happening.
Right, like Mr. Goldenfold apparently lives somewhere in the neighborhood. I think, and Principal Vagina live somewhere in the neighborhood of scenes, but I don't think we've ever seen interactions with an actual neighbor. And Gene's a dick. He needs to mind his own business.
Yeah, mind his own goddamn business.
I like how he looks so meek with his dumb glasses and his like fisherman hat.
He's very whatever Wilson, or is that his name, from Home Improvement?
Yeah.
Standing behind the fence, and I mean, except he showed his whole face. So
right. But fact remains, he needs to mind his own goddamn business.
Exactly.
The last thing that really struck me too, as the trailer rolls out, there's the title card, that says, "Hey, July 30th, new season." And on the couch, Rick is kind of passed out, but Beth is like huddled around his leg like a little kid who's scared. Mm-hmm. I just really like that image, considering like she's divorced from Jerry, and she does have this whole thing where the only reason like all this shit happens and is allowed to happen because she has abandonment issues with Rick.
Yeah, so she's just sitting next to him like she's a child, and wanting to do what she's always wanted to do, which is be by her daddy.
Right.
And she doesn't have Jerry to be there as a pseudo daddy, even though he was very much less than that. As far as their relationship is concerned. But that easily, as Jerry's out of the picture, could go, he's gone, so she needs something to leech on besides wine. Mm-hmm. And especially if Summer's going to be gone too, she's all by herself. So, that could also be a piece to where that fits Jerry back into the situation if we're talking 10 episodes, episodes 7, 8, 9, 10.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
The other thing I noticed, too, is the prominence of Pickle Rick in it. And granted,
Rick!
That's how it started out. Pickle Rick! That's how it started out, obviously, with something so absurd. And granted, this probably only goes for one episode. And I think the trailer probably only shows stuff from probably the first 3 episodes. 3-4 episodes, maybe total. They're not giving away the whole season in it. But,
right, something that's fully mastered and complete, like that's what they have.
Yeah, so that's why they made the trailer using those pieces. But it looks like Pickle Rick he's just a pickle, obviously, at the beginning. And then we see Pickle Rick running from people and battling aliens and doing things. But it looks like he made himself an exoskeleton using a dead rat.
Yeah. There was actually from Comic-Con last year, they released an animatic. Of exactly what you're talking about, and nobody could figure out if at the time, because it was an animatic, so it was very simple black and white sketches.
Yeah.
And people were like, "Is he a hot dog? Is he a pickle? What the fuck is he supposed to go?" And then it turned out later he was supposed to be a pickle. But that's exactly what he did. But nobody has any context of 1, why he's a pickle, and 2, how as a pickle he managed to kill rats and create an exoskeleton, and then fight his way through numerous rats to escape some sort of situation.
That would be my biggest question. Not why he turned himself into a pickle, but how a pickle laying there with no appendages murders a rat and then disassembles a rat and turns said rat into an exoskeleton, a humanoid exoskeleton. Yeah.
I do like how Marty is very suspicious when he hears Rick's voice in the garage before he's revealed to be Pickle Rick, and Morty thinks that Rick turned himself invisible just so he could fart on Morty.
Well, that's a very good trick, and Obviously, it's happened more. It's happened more than once.
He speaks from prior experience.
Exactly. But overall, I think that's a good glimpse. It got me excited for season 3, even though we already saw probably about a third of it on April Fool's Day. But there's a lot of setup for a lot of stuff. You've got your green Rick that throws regular Rick through the window. All of the summer stuff that's going on, whether she's enlarged or whatever's going on in the garage that day.
There was a green Morty somewhere in the trailer too. I thought I saw a green Morty.
Yeah, and then at the very last scene of the trailer, you see green Rick and Morty, and I don't know if those are supposed to be the same people or clones because of that green goo or whatever's going on. But there's a lot of things that are left unanswered, a lot of things that are left to speculation, as we're doing right now. But it looks hilarious. It looks exciting and hilarious, and I can't wait till the 30th for that first one to show up, unless the first one that shows up is 301, which I've already seen probably like 12 times, and it sounds like a very Adult Swim thing to do.
The season premiere again. Like, it'd be awesome. It'd probably be one of the few shows to premiere its season on a rerun.
Yeah, well, exactly. And I wouldn't put it past Adult Swim or Dan or Justin to order that the exact same way, just to keep people on the fence about everything.
Right. It'll be like, if they did that, it'd be very akin to the to go back to South Park. Do you remember back in the day when South Park, it was like in its first few seasons, and they made a big deal of who they were going to reveal who Cartman's father was, but instead they opted to play like a full-length episode of Terrence and Phillip,
right?
and ignore the question, and everybody went batshit crazy. So then they had to go back and make an episode about who Cartman's father is.
Yeah, and the way it seems that the planning has gone. With season 3, at least, it's been over a year now. I think that'd be a super fun kick to the balls to all Rick and Morty fans, so that they just on the season premiere date. But it also makes sense if it's the season premiere, you play the first episode.
And not only that, it's.
I was going to say, I don't think Adult Swim has played the first episode since April Fool's Day, so you got to start somewhere, right?
Right, and. The thing about Rick and Morty is it's kind of picked up steam in its absence. Like, absolutely. I remember people talking about it, but I never heard. I did not hear of the show till halfway through season 2, just kind of gradually word of mouth, and then
I agree
now it's crazy, right? Like everybody's like, it's almost like Breaking Bad. Like, nobody ever heard of Breaking Bad for the first 2 seasons, and then gradually through word of mouth, everybody watched Breaking Bad. On a much smaller scale, it feels like Rick and Morty is like that. Like, you just kind of hear of it through your nerdier friends. But now there's just, like, references to it popping up everywhere. And I think what was, like, a really big help was a couple years ago when they did an opening for The Simpsons where Rick and Morty, like, killed the Simpson family by crashing the spaceship. You know what I mean? Like, in its absence, it's built up, like, a bigger audience.
But I think that also speaks to Adult Swim's culture. Like, you and I remember sitting in the basement of the fraternity house watching the first episode, the first run of Adult Swim ever.
Yeah, the night it premiered,
and
right?
Seeing those things, the weird shit that was just showing up, which included Aqua Teen Hunger Force back when they were detectives, Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, all Space Ghost was thrown in there, just all those home movies, all those weird things that were showing up, and that was during internet commentary days, right at the beginning of it, the infancy. But, now that you can go online and watch stuff that's already played and see things and catch up, most importantly, catch up onto things instead of having to just watch it live, I think that plays a lot into kind of the Adult Swim strategy, and there's a lot of shows on Adult Swim I've never seen and frankly don't care to see just because of their absurdity or ridiculousness. I'm not going to lie. I'm 35 years old. I don't need to be watching some of that stuff. But at the same time, I do enjoy watching the new creative things that come out of it. And the only time you catch it, really is live, or because you're just happen to be watching that 15-minute burst there, or it's on in the background, or you hear about it the next day from your friends that have been watching it.
Right. And it's been really successful for Rick and Morty. And what's funny is that for those of you that don't know, like 15 years ago when Adult Swim started, there was no, like, Adult Swim starts tonight. It was nothing. We just happened to have Cartoon Network playing on the background while we were drinking in a basement bar of our fraternity house with like 15 friends. And Cartoon Network just suddenly stopped, and then they made an announcement, everybody out of the pool because it's Adult Swim. And everybody's like, what the hell's going on? And then Harvey Birdman, attorney at law, came on, and it like totally, it's just their entire strategy is based around like not memes, but like just word of mouth, like it's fan pushed. You'll see billboards and stuff like that, but like a majority of their marketing has always been like mouth to mouth, like person to person. It's there's very little corporate hype behind everything they do.
Right, and I mean, granted, you've got the Rickmobile driving around the United States right now, but I mean, they've also learned their lesson with a few things as far as that goes for large national advertisements.
Right,
you know, with the Aqua Teen Hunger Force, the Moonanite bomb scare in Boston,
right,
and other things. They want to be clever, but they totally can't because not everyone's going to get it, and not everyone knows what's talking about. They're not that. They're part of pop culture, and they're part of pop culture for people our age, probably down to 14, 15, 16 now, if I had to guess. But, you know, your average person who doesn't even know what Adult Swim is or doesn't care to look at Cartoon Network, you know, has no idea what the hell's going on. So, yeah,
right.
all that stuff, and especially because it looks so crappy, some of it. You know, people don't know what the hell's going on, so they get freaked out.
Right, I think Adult Swim is about as close to avant-garde as we can get in like this modern age.
I would agree with that, and its time slot too. You know, only prepares it for people who are avant-garde. You know, the fact that it's Sunday nights. I mean, granted, it's every day of the week now, but you get your. It's pretty much right now what Family Guy, American Family, Cleveland show for the most part, and you don't get anything else during the week. You just get your same old reruns. But the fact that you have to stay up on Sunday night when Monday's a work day, and sometimes stay up, depending on your time zone, till 1, 2 in the morning to see the new stuff. You know, it's made for people who have that Gen X / millennial / Xennial, the new thing that just came out last week. You know, workflow, so they can, you know, prioritize their time for not work, but something stupid.
Right. which makes Rick and Morty so perfect too, because it's so high concept. It's like if you try to explain it to somebody, it's like, well, it's vaguely, very vaguely and distantly based off of Doc and Marty from Back to the Future, but it's more sci-fi, less time travel with really high concept stuff, but like toilet humor, and it's such a hard show to describe. I just like how a lot of people just fall into that. They just fall back on just watch it. Watch it.
Just watch like these 3 episodes, and you'll be hooked, and you'll go back to it. No big deal.
If you can make it through the first 3. Or maybe even first 4, and then make it to the Meeseeks episode, which is like 5, I think, overall. Everything else makes sense. And then the 4 before it gets even better.
Well, you could even cherry pick out of the last 2 seasons, like, you know, the Meeseeks episode, the Unity episode, and probably 1 or 2 others out of there. The Parasite episode. I don't have it in front of me, so I'm not remembering what it's called. But you know, you could cherry pick those for people to watch. Get Swifty, obviously, and just have them watch that, get the concept, and then you know, say, hey, start this from the beginning. You'll be a fan for life.
Right, absolutely, and I'm super excited for season 3. Jeff's super excited for season 3, and it seems like anybody who watches cartoons relative to our age are very excited about season 3. So, July 30th on Cartoon Network. And also, I can't promise anything, but I have been in touch with some people at Cartoon Network. Maybe I can get some giveaways, or at least get some folks on the show, maybe to do some interviews and chat with us for our listeners. No promises, but we'll give it a shot. It's worked for us on It's All Good Men, so who knows? It might work here.
That sounds awesome. Everyone should pay attention.
So, coming up in the next couple weeks up until July 30th, Jeff and I are going to try to knock out some of our discussions about the older episodes. In the meantime, please make sure to correct anything we've said wrong, or tell us why we're stupid, or tell us why we're awesome on Twitter at Plumbus Among Us. We'll have the website coming soon, but until then, you can see our website at apau.podbean.com. Check us out on the Nothing Important Podcast, where we have interviewed all sorts of crazy, awesome people. New episodes coming soon at nothingimportantpodcast.com. And if you're a fan of Better Call Saul, check out all of our Better Call Saul discussions and interviews with the cast and creators and all sorts of crazy people involved with that at It's All Good Men, itsallgoodmen.com. And, of course, you can find all of our podcast on iTunes. You can find a Plumbus Among Us and It's All Good Man on TV Time, which has been a huge partner of ours, and we can't wait to get the third season rolling so we can give them a little love and they can give us a little love, and it'll be great all around.
Absolutely. Everyone's been very cool, especially with our other shows. We encourage that user feedback. If you dig it, if you hate it, if you don't like the way that we sound because we sound like idiots, or whatever, we just like to hear from people. So, yeah, absolutely. Primarily listen on any, really, after we upload it to iTunes, it's available on pretty much any app you have that you listen to your normal podcasts on. You can download it and subscribe. Obviously, give feedback on iTunes so we can be ranked up. And, yeah, just enjoy the show with us the whole time.
Absolutely. Once again, we're your buddies on the couch. And Jeff, just before we go, I noticed that there wasn't any Moon Men in the trailer.
Shut the fuck up about Moon Men.